Okay, just to start off this project, we have a trophy. We've got the front of the trophy, the plans here with all our measurements. We've got the base of the trophy there, both sides of the sheet, and this is what the completed trophy will look like. What we have is two parts, and they're joined together with a mortise and tenon joint. The tenon has the shoulders cut off, so slightly shortened from the piece, and it's a through mortise and tenon, so it's going to go all the way through onto the other side of the piece. The base itself is fairly straightforward. It has the corners cut off. We've got a standard chamfer on both sides, and we have these little small kind of pointed style chamfers either end there and there, which we're going to work on with the spoke shave. The top part, as we said, we have our tenon there. We've got a curve we're going to cut with the coping saw and spoke shaves, a straight angle there and there, and again another one of these kind of pointed style chamfers on the top corner for a decorative finish. So when that's together, you can add your own wood burning to the front of it if you like, but that is the complete project. It's a short, straightforward project that we're going to start working on. Okay, so for the marking of the piece, we can see from the plans that the length of the base is 170, and the length of the top piece is 180 plus 18 for the tenon. Okay, so that works out at 198. So to make sure that we don't forget the 10mm mark on that out, so we're going to mark out both lengths on this piece here. We're going to measure in 10mm. Sorry, we want to start off face side and face edge. I'll do it on both pieces. We're going to measure in 10mm. Tri-square, make sure that it is tight against the edge. And as we said, the length of the base is 170. So we're going to measure across there 170 to start us off. I'm going to put 10mm of waste in between both pieces, and the length that we need, as I said, for the top piece is 198. Square and draw my line there. So what we have is waste here, waste here, and waste here. We need to now get those four lines and square them all the way around the wood, making sure that the tri-square is tight to the edge and that we're working off the face side and face edge at all times. Just mark our waist all the way around there. Now, we're going to go over to the base piece now. There are certain aspects of the base that we can't mark until we cut the whole thing in half, but we will mark the four corners and we'll mark the mortise in the middle. The chamfer on each end and the chamfer in the corners of those we will leave till after everything else has been cut. So the main measurement for cutting off the corners is 25 for the corners of those. So I'm going to get my ruler and measure in 25mm here and down 25mm there and join those. So 25mm on the edge there, 25mm on the edge here, join those corners, 25mm there, there, and we join those, and the same over here. We have a waist there, and take my tri-square, and we now need to square those across onto the other side. Each corner 25 mil. And make sure to mark our waist on all sections in order to make sure we cut off the correct parts. The next thing we need to mark then on the piece is the mortise in the middle. Our main measurements. We can see the length of the mortise is 80 millimeters. We can see it's in the center of the piece. It's also 6 millimeters thick. From here to here we've got 57 millimeters also. Now, in order to find out the distance from there to there, we've got to look at 170 minus the 80 there, leaves us with 90. So the distance of this plus this is 90. So half of that is 45. That will give us a distance here of 45 and 45 there. So I'm going to go to my piece from the waistline over here. I'm going to mark 45. Draw my line. And from that 45 we can go 80 millimeters for the length of the mortise. Take those lines, square them around side, and we now have the position of the length of the mortise on both sides. 57 millimeters from there to there. So I've taken my marking gauge and I have set it to 57. And from the face edge, I'm going to use the marking gauge between those lines. Pencil that in there. That's one. Same on the other side, from the face edge, between both pieces. Okay. So from there to there is 57. So if we're going to work off the face edge again, we now need to set our marking gauge to 57 plus 6, which is 63. My second marking gauge here is set to 63. So we will now gauge across there and on the other side also. And that will leave us with a 6 mil mortise in the center of the piece in the correct position. We will now go on to marking the top of the trophy. So the main aspects that we're going to mark at this point will be the shape of it, the angles here and the curve there. The tenon, we will definitely mark the length of the tenon, but we can't yet mark the width of the tenon and the shoulders that have been cut off the tenon until we cut the piece in half. But the first thing we'll do to get that is we'll mark the tenon. The tenon is 18 millimeters long. So on the bottom of the piece, I'm going to measure a distance of 18 millimeters. Get my tri-square, draw my line all the way out, so I know my tenon is going to be there. And I won't be able to cut or mark the rest of the tenon until we cut this off at a later stage. I will now, however, be able to go on and mark the shape of the trophy. So if we look at our plans here, I'm going to measure across, to get this angle, I'm going to measure across 40 millimeters. Over there. So 40 millimeters across the top. And I will join that back down to the corner here. And we have our waist all down there. Then I want to get this angle down here, so I'm going to go across 65 and down 15. So from that point, we're going to go across 65, get my tri-square, and I'm going to go down with a line and measure 15 millimeters on that line. And then draw that there. Now, we have a curve going all the way down to the bottom corner from here up to here. We have a template here which is set. If I set this up on the bottom there, it will meet that point for me, and I can draw in the curve there. Next thing I need to do now is transfer this shape onto the other side. So I'll flip it over and I will measure across my 40 millimeters here. Join that down to there. My waist. I'm going to go across my 65 and try square that line down there. Measure down my 15. Join that to there. Flip my template around and draw my curving. And that is the overall shape. The whole thing marked. There are some small elements that need to be finished off, like the tenon and the small chamfers around the edges, but that is the majority of the shape marked and ready for cutting. Now, the first thing that we should do with this piece in terms of cutting and processing is to work on the mortise. While we have both pieces connected together, it's easy for us to sit on it and hold it in place as we're working while it's in two pieces, while the two pieces are together. So make sure there's a scrap piece under the piece to support the to avoid damaging the table. Sit on the piece to secure it. We've got a mortise chisel, 6mm mortise chisel. Hold the piece on the end there, always vertical. The flat part of the chisel at the back of it there, and firm strike. Little shake. Move back 2 or 3 millimeters. And we're going to work our way all the way across this mortise in order to take it out. Once one full run done, we'll bring it over to the vise, put it into the vise, and 2 hands on the chisel. We're going to clear out that mortise, clear out the waste that we've cut out there. And this brought us 4 or 5 millimeters down. At that point then, very important to turn the piece around and work from the other side. So set the piece up again, sitting on it to hold it securely, start all over again from the other side. Over into the vise, 2 hands on the chisel, and we clear out the mortise there. And from there we continue to turn the piece around, flip it over, work from both sides until we're completely through. Now, once the mortise has been completely cut, we're at a position there where we can cut off the end waist on both pieces. We can cut off all 4 corners also. So tenon saw and bench hook, cut off this end waist here. Bench hook to cut off the 4 corners. There's 2 ways, a couple of ways we can cut off these corners. We can use the bench hook and tenon saw and cut at an angle. We can jack plane it down either if we like. Before I do that though, I'm going to cut off this end waist here as well. So, option 1 to cut these corners off, we can go the bench hook and tenon saw at an angle, slightly off go there, same thing here, flip the piece over. Other option we have that we have is to use a jack plane and plane it down the corners. So the piece goes into the vise like this, and we can use our jack plane to plane out the corners all the way. jack plane, and the fourth corner is left to be done also. The next piece of work we need to do on the base includes some chamfer work. So if I were to zoom in here, we have a standard chamfer on each end of the piece, but we have these different style, pointed style chamfers on the corners of each one also, which will be using a spoke shave or a chisel to cut down. In order to mark those, we can look at this view here. We can see the measurement for our chamfers is 7mm, so we'll use the marking gauge on the back of the marking gauge to measure those. So if I just zoom out here, there's my marking gauge, there's the spur. If I go to the other end of my marking gauge, and if I set that to 7mm, I can use that along with my pencil to mark the standard size chamfer. Bring this over to the vise, put that in there, and with that 7mm, I'll use my pencil to guide me and draw that across there. Same on the other side. And the same thing needs to be done on the top of the piece also. So I'm going to put that out beside the table so that I can put my marking gauge at it. There. And there. That gives me the markings for the chamfers on either end of the piece. Okay, now in order to cut those chamfers, we'll use a jack plane. We're dealing with end grain, so we must make sure they work in from both sides. So into the vise, like so. I get my jack plane. I want to work this way. I want to work that way. Camera, so we can see. That side, nice flat smooth chamfer there. Same situation over here. So working in both sides. The chamfer on both ends of the piece. Right, so next step and final step before sanding and cleaning up, we've got these pointed style chamfers on each front corner and the back corners of the base. Our key measurements for those, we can see they're 35mm across and they are 7mm deep from the end view and the elevation. So I'm going to go over to the base. There's the top of the piece. I'm going to get my ruler and measure 7mm down on that edge there. I want to measure across 35mm across that edge there. And I want to join that so, and then going to go across 7mm this way. So I now have an edge there. Back in into the vise. I can join that here, and the same there to there, like so. And that shows me the position of that. The tool I'm going to use to work down that little chamfer would be a spoke shave, and particularly a convex spoke shave with a flat bottom. So I'll put the piece into the vise, hold it over like so. We can see the chamfer there, and we're going to walk down the chamfer with the spoke shave till we get a nice clean design. A light sand on that corner there now, and we have that simple little chamfer design on the front there. Our best approach is to work on getting the shape of this out first, then we'll finish off marking the tenon, and we'll start cutting out the tenon there also. There's no real major need to cut off this end way straight, because when we cut this off and this off, that'll go with it. So to take this big angle here, I'm going to use a coping saw and cut down to about 3 or 4 millimeters from the line, and finish that off with a jacket. So into the vise, as you can see here, like so. I'll get my coping saw, and as I said, I'm going to shave a few millimeters from the line. Keep checking, particularly at the start. From there then, the coping saw leaves a rough cut. We'll use our jack plane, set the piece up to where we want it to be. Make sure that we're cleaning in the correct direction. And finish that piece off. Checking both sides. Our angle on that side. This angle here then, we will use a bench hook and tenon saw to cut across the grain. So into the vise like so. Make sure and hold this part of it against the bench hook. If not, you're cutting on a bit of an angle, which is awkward. So holding it there. Tenon saw. There, and same, we're going to use tenon saw for this angle here also. Like so. Now, to cut this curve, we're going to the same situation. We're going to get the coping saw, and we're going to cut around there 2 or 3 millimeters from the line, and we'll use a concave spoke shave to tidy up the cut. So the piece out of the vise there, put our actual piece into the vise here. I am going to start off by making a couple of relief cuts. Let's say 2 relief cuts there and there. The tenon saw. There. There. Coping saw then, as I said, a few millimeters from the line. Keep this one closer to the line. That off there. Off there. And off there. Okay, so at this point we've cut it off with the coping saw. The coping saw cut is quite rough, so to smoothen that off, we're going to use a combination of the concave spoke shape, so with the curved bottom on it, and we'll use a round sanding block of the sandpaper afterwards. It's important that when we're using the concave spoke shape, we work down from both sides and smoothing it out. So that's a smooth slicing cut there as best we can. Down the curve into the middle. Smoothened off on this side almost. I'm going to do the same from this side here. So working our way down. On both sides. And again, to give that a final smoothing, round sanding block and sandpaper. Our required shape there. Right, so the next thing that we need to now do to finish this off is to finish the marking of the tenon down here. Our measurements required, we can see, are mainly over here. The shoulders are cut off the tenon. It's an 80mm tenon. The width of this whole piece is 120. That leaves us then a 20mm distance here and a 20mm distance there. So that's what we'll measure first. We'll get our piece. I'm going to measure 20mm there and 20mm there. Get my tri-square. Tri-square line straight down there. Tri-square line straight down there. Bring those lines across the piece also. And back up the other side also. There. Now, next thing we're going to do, we're going to get our mortise gauge and we're going to measure the width of the tenon across the top of the piece. We can see from our plans that it's 18mm thick timber. You can see that over here. It's a 6mm thick tenon. That means it's basically going to be 6, 6 and 6. We will get our mortise gauge. And we're going to set a distance of 6mm between the pins, which we have there, and then we're going to set a distance of 6 from the stock to the first pin. Tighten that there now, and we can see we've got 6 and 6 there. Put the piece into the vise over here. And we're going to use that mortise gauge then to gauge the thickness then and position of the tenon. Down the sides also. there, across the top there, down the sides there, and down the sides there. And that's now ready for cutting. All the cuts that need to be made are the vertical ones first. So what we're going to do is, while it's in the vise there, we'll get our turn saw. We're going to cut straight down this line, straight down that line, straight down here, and straight down there first of all. Tricky getting these long cuts. There we go. That one, same over on the other side. Flip the piece over, start off the cut. Down there. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to cut down these shoulders. There's the line. There's there. And now we can get the piece and we're going to cut off the end of it. Now we're going to have to work at a slight angle here when cutting off the end waist. We're going to hold that firm against the bench hook there like so. Cut off that end waist. So. And we'll then cut off the ends of the shoulders of the tendon. So we're going to cut straight down here next into the vice like so. There and here. And the last cut we have to make to cut off the sides for the tendon. So cut here now. That side may need a bit more cutting straight down, and the same on the other side here. And then in order to to get those completely down, we might need to put a bit more on the bottom. So, back into the vise over here. Off there. Off there. And that leaves us then with our completed tenon piece. Okay, so the last thing to do that we need to work on is this little pointed style chamfer on the top of the main piece. And the key measurements we have there, we can see 7 millimeters deep. It is 120 millimeters down that side, and you can use your own judgment on a measurement up this side here. I have it marked and I have it already started. So just to kind of go over how that's done, we're going to use our convex spoke shave with the flat bottom. We'll put the piece into the vise, and just to finish off this one here, we're going to nice secure in the vise. As far as a nice and flat surface there. Now when we're working with the end grain, it's really important that we work this way, because if we go that way, we're going to go and break out the grain there, and it's going to chip and block up the spoke shave also. So we're going to work our way up this way. Small bit. So we're going to work our way up this way. Slowly making the shape. Gives us the shape that we are requiring there. So up along that side and up over there, that gives us the overall pointed style chamfer that we were looking for, and that completes the project.